Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, Vikings Vent Line. What's going on, everyone? Declan Goff here for another edition of Off-Season Vent Line with Vikings fans. If you've stumbled upon this for the first time, this is Purple Daily, daily Vikings entertainment. And on this show specifically, I like to talk to Vikings fans throughout the season, just get their thoughts on the upcoming year, the off-season that they've had, the draft, etc. So if you are a Vikings fan and you have takes and you want to get them off your chest, hit me up. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. This is the place for all Vikings fans. So if you'd like to be on a future episode talking about the offseason, I would love to hear from you. vikingsventline@gmail.com is the place to send in those invites. Shout out to our friends at Standard Heating and Air. Standard Heating is the way to go, especially with the warm-up coming here in the Twin Cities. Make sure that air conditioning is in nice shape. Don't DIY that stuff. Let the experts handle it. Let's make sure that it's in good condition for some long summer hot months here in Minnesota. They're the best. Go honor them. Go tell them that Purple Daily sent you as well. We appreciate Standard Heating and their partnership here on Purple Daily all season long. Let's get our guys in here, though. Let's get Jonathan and Gabe in here on Vikings Vent Line. Jonathan, welcome back. You said you've been on the show before in season, correct?
That is correct. Yep.
All right. And then Gabe making your debut. Gabe, are you in Minnesota? Are you outside the States? Where are you at, man?
So I am in Hayward, Wisconsin right now, but I live in Superior, Wisconsin, which is like 15 minutes to Minnesota. So.
Okay. Yeah. Not too far from there. So you're in enemy territory. How did you become a Vikings fan then, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so it was 2009, as every Viking fan knows. My grandpa came over and he told me, he's like, "You got to turn on the TV, man. They got Brett Favre playing against the Browns today." And I guess it's kind of just been magic ever since. So, I guess that's the way to do it. That's been the purple punishment.
Yes, it is. It is punishment. It's a punishment we sign up for every Sunday, sometimes on Mondays and Thursdays as well. So appreciate that. Well, let's start off with this one here, fellas. We're in the off season here. OTAs taking place. We're still waiting for training camp in about a month. But Jonathan, I'll start with you here. Who is an maybe under the radar guy? I know everyone wants to talk about JJ McCarthy, and we certainly can. But who's an under the radar Vikings player that you're looking forward to watching this season?
Well, I think it's kind of a two-part situation with the players. I think Jordan Mason was the biggest acquisition, I think, of the offseason. Personally, watching him, run for the 49ers, to me I think he's a phenomenal get. I really do, for what we got him for. But I really think, with that said, if you watch some tape on Jordan Mason, one of the things that was really important for him to get through, because he's between the tackle kind of runner, Kittles killed it. He pulled, he got inside, he did a great job blocking to open up a lot of those things. And I'm not a big TJ Hawkinson fan, so we'll get to that later in the Kwesi part. But Josh Oliver, I think, in order for us to have the success, he's got to step up his game. He's in a contract year, isn't he?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so I think he's a very talented player, and I think he's a heck of a blocker. I know that the PFF grades on Hawkinson are high. I don't see it personally as far as blocking is concerned. But Oliver's, he's a real good blocker. He pulls well, and I think if he does a phenomenal job blocking with that new line, I think Mason will have a phenomenal year, which will ultimately help McCarthy with play action and what he does best and what he learned at Michigan under Harbaugh.
Yeah. Oliver's contract voids after this year. He's making $9.5 million for his last year, the 3-year deal he signed going into 2023. A guy that caught a lot of passes in college, but kind of was turned into a blocking aficionado and can catch the ball still too. Right. And could have a nice little pairing there with TJ Hawkinson, but also I think his primary job is still obviously going to be to set those blocks and make life a lot easier. I like that one a lot. Gabe, how about you though? Any other under the radar guys that you're looking forward to watching this year?
I think he's on the radar. I don't know if he's I would consider him under the radar, but I think Dallas Turner is going to be a freak this season. I think that, I don't want to say that, but I think his rookie year was maybe a little underwhelming, but people kind of forget he was 21 during the season. And the other thing people don't talk about is the fact of our edge room is great, between Van Ginkel and Grenard, towards the end of the season, Dallas Turner flashes. He smoked that edge against Chicago in those the Winter Warrior uniforms, and he's 22 this year. He's had a season to kind of get acclimated. I think he's going to be a monster in this Flores defense. Like, he's got the versatility. He can run off the edge. He can cover. I think it takes a little bit to get acclimated at 21 to the NFL, but man, I think if Turner can really turn it on, and I really do think he will, because O'Connell has said something, like, guys are talking about him.
Yeah.
But I think Dallas Turner is going to be a freak this year.
Yeah, he was kind of bogged down by the depth chart with Grenard and Van Ginkel there, but I think having more bullets in the chamber is a good thing there. Jonathan, how about you, though? Do you expect kind of bigger things here from Dallas Turner, who was a first-round pick and played just basically kind of sparingly last season? Oh, no. I think I lost Jonathan. Might have lost your audio there. Might want to. There we go. I think I got you now.
You got me? Okay.
Yep, got you.
A first-round pick, they got to play. That's just my opinion. There's a couple guys that I really wanted on the team other than him, based on need. Defensive line. Fisk went afterwards. Sweat went afterwards. I know Sweat had those issues. I was a little disappointed. Who's that guy at Illinois? He just went a couple of places ahead of the Seahawks that year before Turner. I think we kind of panicked. I don't know. If he doesn't play this year, which breaks down to the Kwesi thing, and he doesn't do really well, we gave up a couple second-rounders for him. And that's, to me, it's – I don't know. I would love to see him play well. Hopefully he'll be a big part of the rotation, part of that blitz package that they do with Grenkel and Gennard. But we'll see what he does. I haven't seen enough. I've seen a little bit, and so I think this is going to really determine how good that draft was. I think McCarthy's a winner. I just do. Yeah. So that's fine. I get that. But as far as Dallas Turner, we'll see. We'll see what he does this year. And if he has a good year, then, we made a good pick. But first-round picks need to be part of the team.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Gabe, do you think the Vikings still have, though? Is this defense, obviously, it's locked and loaded. It's been pretty successful under Flores since he took over for Donatel. Do you still feel like this Vikings defense is another top 10 unit or has another gear to get to in 2025?
I do, but I also think the quality of teams is going to go up as well. I do think we were a bit of AFC South merchants, if you will. I think we have a murderer's row of quarterbacks to play this year. We got Lamar, we got Jalen, we got Joe Burrow. I think Jared Goff puts the spookies in you too. And I do think this is a quality defensive team. I think they will be top 15. I just don't know if they're I can't say for sure if they're going to be top 10 just because the schedule is so stacked. Yeah. And I know everyone's going to be hearing about that till, the day that Riker boots the ball down the field for the first time. And that's tough, but adjust. But I think I could see them being like number 14. I just cannot see a top 10 finish this year. That's sour, I know, but
no, I think it's fair, man. They're playing probably 4 of the 5, if you will, top quarterbacks in the NFL, and now it's at home for a lot of those games, which I think is a huge advantage. But still a tough slate. Jonathan, I know you Dallas Turner. It's time to go. It's time to get him going a little bit. But what are your kind of thoughts on this defense? Do you feel it might take a little step back statistically, or do you still like it regardless with your eye test?
It's 100% right. We play a heck of a schedule this year. We got to be strong out of the gate. Hopefully, beat Cleveland and Pittsburgh overseas and get going. It depends on health. I mean, that's one of the things, we haven't drafted particularly well at all on the defensive area. I mean, Smith is 36. He could get hurt.
Yep.
Hargrave's 32. Cashman's 29. All those guys have injury problems. Phillips is 29. Ginkel's 29. So, they're an older defense. And a couple guys get hurt. Flores, I mean, thank God we have him and not Donato. But, I mean, he will come up with some good creative ways to do it. I think, like I said, back to, the original question, who's the kind of going to outstand. If Jordan Mason can run the ball consistently and keep the defense fresh because they are older, you're going to have a better defensive numbers, statistically, right? So that's realistically, that's going to be a big part of getting that defense, because they are older, keeping them off the field, right? Because we are playing a lot of phenomenal quarterbacks this year that will be throwing it all over the place.
Yeah, it's it becomes a time of possession thing basically, right? I mean, if your defense isn't on the field and as long, and I know the first half, first half, you can conclude it, of the Rams playoff game where the Vikings had, a bajillion chances there in the red zone, couldn't convert, and the defense held its own in the first half. Well, eventually, I mean, if you tilt the scale long enough, it just becomes difficult to stay in the game, which is what happened. They couldn't score, and then the defense eventually ran out of gas. So it's tough, man.
And two players that got drafted after Dallas Turner ate us up.
Yep.
For the Rams.
Yeah. Hey, we did have some news on Friday. Kwesi Adofo-Mensah got extended. Gabe, are you a fan of extending him? I know that extension came a little later than Kevin O'Connell's. He's had some high moments. He's certainly had some interesting head scratchers. But are you a fan of the extension for Kwesi Adofo-Mensah?
Yeah, I think it's really good. I do think that he gets a little more hate on his drafts than he probably should. I think everyone points at the Lewis Cine pick just because Cine was such a bust.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, that was a weak draft. Like, this is the part where people, I feel like, don't mention this, is that it was a really weak draft. It's his first pick. He's using old scouts that aren't his. I don't want to make that excuse, but I think that he's been a great GM. They've come in and they've won games. Yeah, they haven't won the playoff games, but if McCarthy's the guy, then I don't really know where you poke a hole in his game other than his draft isn't that great. There's 1,000 different ways to build a team, and Kwesi's done pretty well here. This roster's pretty tight. Like, they could maybe use a corner. That's all I can say right now for him. And that they've come in and he hired O'Connell. Right. He was the guy that hired him, and they're a team. So I'm for it. I don't really see a reason. I would think maybe if you don't win a few playoff games down the road, then we start kind of talking, what's it going to take here? So, but I'm a fan. I like it.
Yeah. John, how about you? I know there's the Dallas. We talked Dallas Turner. We all know the Lewis Cine pick's bad, but what do you think?
I'm a big Judd fan, so I'm negative. I'm a 45-year-old man that's been a Vikings fan for a long time. I think the problem is this was his he had to get signed, and he's not dumb enough to just do a 1 or 2 year extension. I think it was a 4-year, if I read correctly. I'm not a fan at all. I think this is horrible. I think it's horrible for the Vikings. I think he has made some really – so I don't necessarily think he made all the decisions, but he does make the decisions of what to trade for, right? Mm-hmm. So he didn't make the player picks maybe like Lewis Cine, but he did make a decision with the trading. And as far as the first draft, Lewis Cine was obviously a horrible player. Nothing really came much out of that draft. But what did come out of that draft is Detroit got a phenomenal receiver because we traded up with them, and now we got a plan.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like we got enough for it. I really don't. And I think that's the start of it. I think Hawkinson trade, I think we gave up a number 2, correct? And I think Hawkinson is a bust. Personally, I don't think he's doing really well. He's been hurt. I think he's soft. I don't see him breaking a lot of tackles. I see him. He's a good catcher, but I don't see him doing any out of run after the catch or yards after the catch. I don't think he's a good blocker, so I think we gave up a second for that, which I feel like we keep giving up picks every year. So it isn't just that draft. And I think the team's been, and I think part of this is on O'Connell too. I don't think the team's been well prepared. We gave up another pick to get, and now we got injury problems. That happens. That left tackle, what did we give a 4th round up for?
Yeah, it became I think it was a 5th that became a 4th basically because of playing time. Yep.
This is the first year where I think the next year we're going to have plenty of picks. Yep. But we've been low on picks. Now, if you look at the numbers and how things are kind of been playing out by not having those picks, we have not been able to restack that defense. And if you look at, I live in Kansas City a lot, right? I'm back and forth between here and there. So I got a factory down there. But facts are facts. We have not restocked that defense at all. They're getting older. We're having to go out and get 32-year-olds and whatever. I don't think he's making good decisions with the draft picks. I don't think it's well prepared. Now, it's like I said, part of it is kind of O'Connell. I remember specifically when they did trade for T.J. Hawkinson, I think there was like some Vikings news thing where O'Connell looked surprised that we got him, right?
Yeah.
But, so the thing is, though, our point is not to, as a Vikings fan who has dealt with misery, my first memory of this team, I met Scott Studwell. That's when I start really liking the Vikings, right? I was like 5 or 6 years old. I thought he was the coolest thing in the world. And then watching Steve Young run 49 yards, falling on his face for a touchdown against Keith Millard and supposedly one of the best defenses ever, and just breaking my heart over and over and over. And it's been that way ever since. You got to look at preparing and getting that team ready for the next level. They weren't Kirk Cousins. They weren't going anywhere, Kirk. You got Hawkinson, so you traded a 2nd-round pick, but we weren't going to the championship with Kirk. No, but that defense, Donashell D, it wasn't going to happen. Yeah. So why give up a 2nd-round pick? They keep giving up picks. Hopefully they're seeing that they're making mistakes doing that, and I think they are for next year. And this was kind of a weaker draft. I was hoping for Gray Zabel because, I'm a big Thor fan, so I listen to everything that Thor says and watch some of his other stuff. I don't think he's proven it enough. I don't know what the contract terms were. I know he wasn't our first pick. I do think that they were trying to get Poles here before, which I'm glad that they didn't because I think Poles has been horrible. I hopefully, and I don't think O'Connell was Kwesi's first pick. I think he tried really hard to get Harbaugh here.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. So I think O'Connell was something that the Wills have done. I don't know what value he brings to the table, right? Okay. I do think it's better than Rick Spielman saying, I'm going to draft some players just to piss off Zimmer. That could be part of it. I don't know. But I don't see his value. I don't think he's done a good job with trading picks. And that James Williamson, I'm sorry. Yeah. That was a horror. I mean, we have to deal with that guy now. Yeah. And he smoked us.
Yeah. Gabe, any other last takes? Any other shout-outs here on Vikings Vent Line?
Yeah, I think my hot take is I think the Vikings will be – I don't think it's a hot take, but I think they're going to be what I call wild card contenders, where they're going to end up having to play, again, this gauntlet of teams. And if they go 10-7, 11-6, like I would say that's a scary team. I could see them, being quote unquote battle tested and making it far in the playoffs. I also like to give a shout out. My best friend is a Packers fan. We go at it. His name is Lars. I know this is the one time he'll listen to a Vikings podcast, but I figured I better give him a shout out. So
I feel like on the big board of guys most likely to be Packers fans and their names, Lars is like in the top 10. Like, just sounds like a guy that's just a diehard Packer fan. So love that shout out. I love that.
That is about as accurate as it gets.
That's awesome. Hey Jonathan, any other last takes here on Vikings Vent Line?
Oh no, I appreciate guys' content. It's funny. I got introduced two guys from two of my best friends from Chicago, and they just love Judd's takes on hockey. So Scotty and Tony, shout out. I don't have a lot of Vikings friends here that are reasonable, so I don't talk a lot of Vikings, but they just, every year the Bears win the Super Bowl in August, and it's fun to watch and banter with them. Keeps me interested in football. And then your guys' content's great. This is Jeff here.
Jeff.
He's a Bernice baby.
Yeah.
But I kind of named him after Judd after Randy kept calling Judd Jeff. So I was like, it's the dumbest name ever. And that's his name. And he's a sweetheart. So hopefully one day he can say hi to Judd because he's named after Judd, except for with the Jeff name. So, no, I appreciate guys' content. I make sure to, use you guys as sponsors because I enjoy it thoroughly. I listen to it every day. And I like the realism. It's not always duckies and bunnies, right? I grew up with K-Tan, and it was just like, oh, the world is great, and flowers and roses. And the fact of the matter is, you're sinister after 45 years. You just are. You don't have that. So it's nice to have realities on all your guys' show where you, Mackie and Judd, really say, hey, you know what? I don't think we're ready hockey-wise. I don't think we're ready for football, like the different things of where things are actually at for the teams, because then you don't get your hopes up and they get dropped and all that other stuff. But I like being realistic. I was obviously disappointed with the horridness of the Wolves. I emailed you that it was just bad. I've never seen such bad basketball. Yeah. They couldn't even make a pass. So, but no, I appreciate you guys. And Tony and Scott, and then John Brown in Texas, who is Duckies and Bunnies. And he always says next year after they lose, but he thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl every year. So, but So
awesome, man.
Nope.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it, Jonathan. Appreciate you coming on, slinging some takes here. Gabe, thank you too. Fighting the good fight across the border. Keep up with your buddy Lars. Keep talking trash. Love that for you. And if anyone wants to come on a future episode of Vikings Vent Line, it's vikingsventline@gmail.com. Purple Daily, this is Daily Vikings Entertainment, where we just want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl before we die.